Hello, and welcome to Cafetography.co.uk. Today we're taking a look at one of Canon's classic telephoto L-series lenses, the 400mm f5.6 USM. It's a lens that is designed to give you a lot of telephoto reach and picture quality. It still remains comparatively affordable due to its slightly dark f5.6 maximum aperture. Many people prefer to use the 100 to 400 zoom lenses these days instead of a prime like this, which is stuck at 400mm. However, this lens has its advantages. It's a little smaller and lighter than a zoom lens, a little less expensive, and because it doesn't have a zoom in and out, it could potentially give you better image quality. There is one major disadvantage of this particular type of lens in that it doesn't have image stabilization. It makes it quite tricky to use. You'll need to use quite a fast shutter speed to get sharp pictures unless you use a tripod. It's time to take a look at how this lens is built. The first thing you'll notice is how narrow the lens is. It's quite long and mostly made of metal. However, it's not really too heavy to use. And wildlife photographers shouldn't have any problem carrying this lens around all day, thanks to the fact it only weighs 1.25 kilograms. The lens itself feels tightly constructed and well made. It even has a useful built-in lens hood which simply extends and twists into place. The focus ring on the lens is very smooth to turn and is reasonably precise. The front element does not turn or extend as you focus, and you can turn that focus ring at any time. This 400mm uses one of Canon's ultrasonic autofocus motors. The focusing is very fast, as well as being nice and quiet, and more importantly, it's very accurate. Overall, the lens is easy to use and very well put together. Now let's have a look at that all-important image quality. Firstly, we're going to have a look on a full-frame camera, a 20 megapixel Canon 6D. For this test, chromatic aberration correction and peripheral illumination have been turned on. At f.6, the lens is nice and sharp in the middle of the image. It has very good colours and contrast. When we look to the corners, we can see that the high resolution is maintained. This is excellent picture quality. And if we stop the lens down to f8, we see even more sharpness in those corners, and back in the middle of the image too. The lens remains sharp even at f11, so on a full frame camera the lens puts in rather fantastic performance. Well, let's see how this lens performs on an APS-C camera. In this case, we're going to be using a 20 megapixel Canon 70D. This is a much tougher playing field for any camera lens. At f5.6, the lens is softer than what we saw on the full frame camera, but we're still seeing quite a clear picture, as well as good colours and contrast. The good news is that there is no reduction in picture quality when we look into the corners of the image. The further good news is that if you stop the aperture down to f8, you will see a lot more sharpness, and things are about as good as they get at f11. Back in the middle of the picture, we can still see reasonably good sharpness. So, like a lot of telephoto lenses, the 400mm USM L series is a little softer on a high resolution APS-C camera. However, its picture quality is still useful and quite acceptable, especially as it gives good colours and contrast. Let's take a look at the lens's vignetting and distortion levels. There's some excellent news here. The lens shows a negligible level of pincushion distortion and no noticeable vignetting, even at the widest aperture of 5.6. This is truly an excellent performance. The lens's closest focus distance is only about 3.5 meters away from the subject, which is really quite a weakness. You won't be getting many good close-up pictures of small objects here. However, the good news is, at that minimum focus distance, the lens remains as sharp as ever, even at f5.6. If we change the aperture to f8, we do only get a small improvement. So at least we do get good image quality here. The lens does have a little trouble when it's working against bright lights, as you can see here. We see a little flaring and a strong loss of contrast if the sun makes its way into the picture. That's only to be expected in an older design telephoto lens such as this. Just remember to use that all-important inbuilt lens hood. Due to this lens's very long focal length, you can get some good out-of-focus backgrounds in your pictures. When you do, the quality of the lens's bokeh is always very smooth and doesn't seem to throw up any problems at all. So overall, in the Canon 400mm f5.6 USM L series lens, we have a very desirable piece of equipment. Its build quality and its sharp images are second to none, with only a couple of concerns popping up about the minimum focusing distance and working against bright lights. Apart from that, it's a very high performance lens indeed. For me, this lens's biggest drawback is the lack of image stabilization. Because of this, it's an instrument that really does beg to be used in bright light conditions or on a tripod. It's easy to see why so many people would prefer to use a more convenient zoom lens rather than get this 400mm. However, I believe that this prime lens offers better image quality and it comes in a smaller size and it's slightly more affordable. It could be an absolutely great lens for wildlife photographers. So if the lens's parameters meet your needs, it certainly comes recommended. If you like our reviews and want to see more, please make sure you subscribe to our channel by clicking on the button above.